Headers and paragraphs. We've learned what an element is by using the paragraph element. Now let's take a look at what a paragraph actually does. So here, this is my line. This is a new line, but it's still in the same paragraph. You notice when you read a book and you have a new paragraph, it's got that new indent. HTML doesn't always do that, but it will create a double line for you. So what I mean is you went from here to down here. So this here, this is paragraph number 1, and this is paragraph number 2. So what a paragraph does, it's not actually visible to people, but what it will do is it will keep all your content together. If you're talking about one subject and then change to another subject, it's a good idea just to keep your paragraphs relevant. This way when you move on to the next paragraph, you can change subjects and people won't be as confused as to what they're reading. Now let's take a look at what a header is. A header is a great big title. Now it doesn't always have to be big. We can start with the smallest one. We have header number 6. So we can start with the smallest one here. As you've noticed, I've made it into header number 6. It's bold, it's very tiny font. It is still considered a header though. Now if we take a look at header number 5, it's a little bit bigger, not too much bigger. It's bold. Now we see header number 4. This one's getting a little bit bigger. It's getting there. Taking a look at header number 3, it's getting larger. This one's pretty popular, as well as header number 2, which looks just like this. Header number 2 is getting quite a bit bigger. If you compare this to our regular text, it stands out a lot more. And now let's look at the biggest header, header number 1. And header number 1 looks like this. Now to create a header, it's very simple. It's just like that paragraph tag that we talked about. Header number 1 looks just like that. We put our content in here, and it's going to be huge. Header number 2, same thing. We have content for number 2. And we have header 3, header number 4, header number 5, and header number 6. Header number 6 is actually so small it's barely visible for me right now in my editor, so I apologize if it's barely viewable in the video. Now one of the reasons that we went over what a block element is because headers are block elements. Now if we take a look at what the code looks like, if we take a look at the code, we have our h1, that's our opening tag. Then we have header number 1, and right here is called an HTML entity, and what that displays is this in HTML code. This way the browser doesn't get mixed up for what is actually a greater than or less than sign and what is supposed to be part of an element or a tag. But now if we look at the end of our headers, we have no line breaks, we have no BR, no paragraph, we have nothing to actually separate it to make it a new line. And this is what a block element is. This header will try to take up all this space. And every header will do this. Create its own line, it becomes its own piece of code. And that's the reason why we went over what a block element is. This way when you're using a header, for example when I try to type something next to header number 3, this is what I get. It automatically creates a new line and puts my text down there because header number 3 is going to take up all this room. So to recap real quick, a paragraph will separate itself from another paragraph or any other element that comes after it. Two paragraphs together looks like two paragraphs in a book, and it creates a double space. Instead of one line break, it creates two lines. And our headers are block elements. They range in size, number 1 being the biggest, or the best if you like. And just remember, these are block elements. Now you know how to deal with headers and paragraphs.